Many people mark the occasion of Martin Luther King's birthday, which was last Sunday, but celebrated as a national holiday on Monday to reflect on the goals he laid out in his iconic I Have a Dream speech on August 28, 1963. How much progress has been made and how far do we have to go as a country to realize his vision? That's the topic of this week's in-depth conversation with moderator Susan Cadeau and her panel of guests.
Thank you, Rich. And what a panel we have today. I want to jump right in and introduce them to our viewers. First, we have Reuben Gant, who is the executive director of the John Hope Franklin Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have J.B. Williams, who is an activist and a known musician in Oklahoma City. And we have Quraish Ali Lansana, who is a poet, an author of 20 books. He's an historian. He's on the faculty at OSU Tulsa. And full transparency, we have won an Emmy together. So welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
First, Reuben, I want to begin with you. Let everyone know a little bit about the John Hope Franklin Center and what you do.
Well, the John Hope Franklin Center was established about 20 years ago. And our main focus was to unearth and reveal untold stories about African-American life in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and in particular the Greenwood District. So we created a park that we named Reconciliation Park to emphasize the history of African Americans with Native Americans and the establishment of Indian Territory, leading to statehood and development of Greenwood. So we focus on encouraging people to recognize that intrinsically we all are the same. We have differences, but those differences can be overcome if we're committed to do that. If we commit ourselves to humanity. And that's what John Hope Franklin Center focuses on.
That's wonderful. Quraish, how about you?
Well, I am based in Tulsa as well. I'm on the faculty at OSU Tulsa and the University of Tulsa, and I'm also a founding member of Tri-City Collective and executive producer of Focus Black Oklahoma, which is a radio show that airs on KOSU and KWGS. And it's a bit about what I do. I'm an educator. I believe that that the moment that we stop learning, we are dead, and that there are too many people walking around who are breathing but not alive.
Yeah. JB, I want to hear more about you. Kind of fill in everything I left off, because there's so much that you are doing to help develop your community right where you are right now.
So I'm actually sitting in my restaurant, Eastside Pizza House, and we opened in February of last year. And I wanted to, have a place that would be something that could help combat the food apartheid that we were dealing with here on Eastside Oklahoma, Oklahoma City. So I do that. I also do a music program at the Boys and Girls Club, and I teach at UCO ACM, hip hop studies class, and music. And I work with the Julius Jones Coalition. I'm the one of the co-directors, and starting a new project called a branch of a national group called Live Free. We're starting a new project called Live Free OKC. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Wow. I don't know when any of you sleep. I feel like we have a generational group here that can really give us some perspective and context. So let's jump in. We just celebrated Martin Luther King, MLK Day, to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reuben, I want to start with you. First of all, what is the legacy of Dr. King?
Well, to me, it's about man's humanity to man. And I grew up with elder siblings who participated in marches and sit-ins as a result of the conviction and commitment that Dr. King had to justice and equal opportunity. So I began to learn the importance of humanity and respect and treating people as you would wish they would treat you at an early age. And that's carried me through my adult years, and I'm focused on that to this day.
Quraish, does that have the same meaning for you as well? Does Dr. King have the same meaning for everyone, or is it very personal?
I think it's personal. I think it depends on your relationship and your knowledge, your relationship to his full and complete legacy and history and activism. And I think it depends on what you want to pull or engage from his legacy. So, I mean, for example, when he was killed, he was in Memphis for a sanitation workers strike, right? And when he moved into more economic justice, into reparations for Black folks, which he was always about, but also economic justice for Black folks, for folks of color in the United States, is when he became really more of a threat to the status quo than the civil rights work. And so I think that's an important, for me, with what JB is doing in Oklahoma City, with what some of us are doing in Greenwood and in North Tulsa, is about that economic justice, those economic inequities. And King was about that. That part of his legacy often gets lost or forgotten conveniently in the I have a dream rhetoric, which is important and real, right? But the economic justice and reparations for Black folks, as well as his issues about the Vietnam War, with the Vietnam War being populated by mostly Black men on the front lines. He spoke out against those injustices as well. To me, those are the most lasting and significant parts of his legacy in terms of what I do.
And JB, what does Dr. King mean to you? You're the youngest one here. Does it reverberate with you like it does for others?
Yeah, I think so. I think I agree with what both of them said, but personally, like I was just in DC for MLK Day this year, and we were reading, some of the quotes at the memorial and the monument, and now we were just thinking and talking, and one of the reasons that Dr. King is so important to me, especially as I think back to 2020 and the George Floyd protests, and on into my work with the Julius Jones Coalition. Why he was so unique was because he was able to do everything that he did and bring people out and together around love. And I say that because when I think about bringing people together around love, I think about all the rallies and the protests and the marches we did, whether it was for, Black Lives or whether it was for Julius Jones. If I posted on social media and I said, we're going to go and protest and tear up the police department, everybody would come out. If I was like, if my messaging was out of anger, everybody would come out. And so I think about how he did that, and everything he did out of love, and beginning with love, and just using love is so powerful. And it's that philosophy has taught me a whole lot just in the past, 3 to 4 years.
So Ruben, I want to come back to you and kind of jump off on what JB was just talking about. Hate seems to I'll just say anger seems to draw people out because people are angry more than love. Why is that? My next question was going to be, are we trending in the right direction since Dr. King spoke to us here on this earth? Or with everything that JB just talked about, is it still the same?
Well, I mean, we certainly made progress. No question about that. But there are still yet a lot to do. I think it stems from our inability to have open arms and have an open heart to cultures and individuals that don't look like us. Not realizing that we're all children of God and we're all human in nature. If we can not observe the exterior and just have conversations from within, we will realize that we have more in common than not. So this exterior facade of difference and disagreement can be overcome if we go beyond the exterior. We certainly have a lot of work to do in that regard. And we can't forget the sacrifices that were made by individuals like Dr. King and Medgar Evers, and advocating for and putting their lives on the line for justice and equal rights for all.
But what do you think? What do you think the negative emotion of anger and frustration is stronger? Do you think it's stronger than love?
I wouldn't say that it's stronger than love, but I would say it's a result of the teachings that occur at the kitchen table. You look at the involvement of this younger generation that is in anger mode, and you wonder where did they get it from? Certainly, they didn't grow up with it. They didn't learn it in public schools. But it stems from conversation at the kitchen table. What is talked about at home by parents, and it has bled over into a generation. And so children are emulators. They do what they see and they say what they hear.
Suresh, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Well, actually, I want to defer to nephew because he's the youngest on this call about speaking on behalf of what Ruben just said on behalf of his generation. So I'm going to defer to him on that, and then I'll circle back. I'm interested in JB's thoughts, though.
I do think that a lot of it does probably come from things that are passed down. For instance, I can remember my mom coming home from work. And, some of the things that she experienced at work, she would tell us about, you know what I mean? And discrimination that she would feel on her job. There's an anger in the hearts of many because we feel like we are in this day and time where none of these things should be happening. And so we look at history and we say, okay, well, we're in 2023. Why should I feel like in 2023, I have to fight for the rights of my children and their children whenever my grandparents and their grandparents already fought for the rights and the equality for me? But really, that there were times where we were frustrated, we were angry, we were at the state capitol in front of the governor's mansion, but it was the centering of God and the centering of Mama Jones and Antoinette Jones that helped bring that frustration to bring it down and remind us why we were there. Even though we all came out to support out of our frustration that our state was going to kill an innocent man, it was the centering of God that helped, remind us of why we were there. So however it happens, my point was to say that I just admire the way King did it because it helped remind me of what was important.
That's beautiful, JB. Even Jesus got angry threw over a few tables. I'm just saying. Our time is winding down, Suresh. I am going to ask you to give us the last word, the last thoughts, not only on this discussion, but on what might need to be done. What more can we do? Does this fight for equality ever end?
I don't foresee it ending as much as I'd like to be more optimistic and dream that it might, as King did. But I don't see it ending anytime soon. There's too much work to be done. And what has happened, in my opinion, in the last 10 years is in many ways a dismantling of some of the progress that Ruben's generation and my parents' generation made manifest. We are in a moment now where there are more Black authors on the banned book list in this state than authors of any other ethnicity. We're at a place where House Bill 1775 is a law that tells us that we cannot teach anything that has to do essentially with marginalized people, particularly people of color, and particularly and specifically Black folks, right? So I think that there are so many more, what's on tap regarding, I mean, the fact that a Supreme Court justice who is a Black man who is married to a white woman has suggested, right, that maybe we should reconsider interracial marriage as a legal, as a legal act speaks to, I think, the amount of how lost anyone can become in a narrative that's presented to them that is pervasive, to their own demise, right? To his own self-detriment, regardless of what you think about his politics or anything else, right? That he would actually support the destruction of laws that safeguard interracial marriage when he's married to a white woman himself. That's deep,
Yeah.
And so there's much work to be done. There's a great deal of work to be done. And I'm grateful for Ruben and for JB and so many others in this state who are engaged in this work all over the state. And we need to be engaged in this work all over the state because there are powers that be that don't want to see this change still.
All right. I want to thank all of you for your time. And for those of you watching, if you're wondering how you can help, I know you can get in touch with these gentlemen and the John Hope Franklin Center with J.B. Williams, with Quraish Ali Lansana. They're on social media. Just check them out. You can see their names at the bottom of the screen and find out what they're up to and jump in and get involved. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.